Shalom Israel, Shalom, Shalom. Brother Naquam, watchman for Israel, coming back at you with these precepts and another cold cut, giving, of course, our honor and our glory to Yahweh, by Shema Mashiach Kumalak Yabushai. Double honor to the elect elders of the house of David that's been in this truth for decades and decades, patiently waiting for the second coming of Mashiach Kumalak Yabushai. A hearty, mighty Shalom to all of the mighty men of the Most High God who are out there in the highways and byways, pushing His truth, magnifying the ministry, presenting their body as a living sacrifice, and enduring all things for the elect's sake. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to all of the men that may not be out there in the highways and byways as of yet, but they're working on it. They're getting built up in the spirit. They're praying, they're fasting, they're studying. They're being diligent and abounding in the work of the Lord. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to all of the Aquath out there, the sincere sisters out there, holding it down in the households, reverencing their husbands, being submissive and diligent, and moving in the spirit of our righteous foremothers. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to everybody tuning in live. Jake for Life 45, Ahaziah, Jojo Too Amazing, CC Levi, Taylor B, Don Israel, Aquam, son of Naquam, Sweet Styles, Richard Perez, T Sellers. We got Next Israel, Livy, Yolanda Caesar, A Chapter Away from World War III, Jay, Kudash, Salawam King, Kudash Zion, and everybody else tuning in and that will tune in, Lord willing. Q&A, scriptural breakdown, and diverse lessons. Let's get right into it. All right, Jake for Life 45. Shalom, brother Naquam. Shalom. The elect, 144,000, will not taste death. So does that mean in the kingdom they will have full recollection and memory of the former world? All right, let's deal with it. Let's go first and foremost. I'll share the screen. All right, let's go to the book of Jeremiah. All right, let's get a quick precept on that. So I don't want to spend too long on too many questions. Some questions are going to, it's going to permit, right, but some questions may not. Now, to answer this question, the elect are going to have somewhat of a memory, right, of what happened on this side of the world. And you can see that through a few precepts, right? Now, this is Jeremiah 16 and 14. Therefore, behold, the days come, said the Lord, that it shall no more be said, the Lord liveth that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. But the Lord liveth that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north and from all the lands whither he had driven them, and I will bring them again into their land that I gave unto their fathers. So we're going to have a recollection of Egypt, and we're going to have full memory of that Exodus during the time of Moses and Aaron, right? But it's going to fail in comparison to this upcoming deliverance out of the land of the north, which is spiritually America, and from all these diverse lands. So in the kingdom, you're going to recall being in bondage. You're going to recall the Lord delivering you. You're going to recall being in captivity. You're even going to have to tell your children are going to say, is this the man, right? When you go to Isaiah 14th chapter that did shake kingdoms, right? You're going to say, well, yeah, that is that guy. That guy, he's an Edomite, man. He used to rule over us on this side of the world, right? This is Isaiah chapter 14. And let's see what I want to start. Okay, bear with me. Isaiah 14 and 4. I'll start at 3. I'll start at 2. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids, and they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. So we're going to put these other nations into hardcore bondage. And this shall come to pass in the day that the Lord shall give thee rest from thy sorrow and from thy fear and from the hard bondage wherein thou wast made to serve, that thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how hath the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. So we're going to know about this golden city. We're going to still know that the so-called white man is the oppressor. We're going to have full recollection of what happened over here in this side of the world, right? So much so where we're going to taunt our oppressors and taunt those who have ruled over us. We're going to speak of America, how the Lord delivered us. We're going to speak about that expectation that was longing for in Babylon the Great. And we're going to talk that talk. That's what the Most High is saying, right? And I want to jump down, right? This Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 16. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, Is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms? Because everybody's going to know once the so-called white man is in chains, they're going to look at this guy narrowly, like kind of squint their eyes and say, this guy? And your children may say that, man. Y'all let this guy rule over y'all? And it may not say it like that, but that's what the scripture is essentially saying. That people are going to look at the estate of the so-called white man and pretty much be confounded and consider and think, how did you let this guy rule over you? You mean to tell me you had to check in with this man before you left the country? You had to go to this man for food, for water, right? For the one of all things, for clothing. And people are going to really look at these Edomites, man, and shake their head and say, I can't believe these guys had us in captivity for X amount of time. Is this the man that did make the earth to tremble? Because everybody's going to know that this guy was dropping bombs, trembling the earth. This guy dropped nuclear bombs, atomic bombs. This guy was taking the oil out the ground, messing up the plates, so-called, causing earthquakes and shaking kingdoms. That made the world as a wilderness. They're going to know about his deforestation. They're going to know about him being against nature, him destroying the ecosystems and all of these different parts of the earth, and destroyed the cities thereof that opened not the house of his prisoners, right? So everybody's going to know about what happened on this side of the world if you make it in the first resurrection. Now, the Lord said, the former things shall not come to mind. Let's actually get that and go into that. Right, this Isaiah chapter 65 and verse 17. For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth. The former shall not be remembered, nor come into mind. So this isn't saying the Most High is going to take that Men in Black flashlight and flash it before if you haven't seen the movie, then you got to kind of figure out what I'm talking about, right? They would take that light and they would flash it before their eyes and you forget everything. So the Most High is not going to go before everybody and say, oh, well, you don't remember your name, right? You don't remember that you're an Israelite. Okay, you're going to forget you're a Judah. You just forget everything. And the Lord put a dang thing in your back of your head, man, right? And you're programmed. No. When it says, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered. What is the former? The former is the old heaven and the old earth. This is the currently, this is the current heaven and the earth. All right, the old heaven and the old earth. And when it says it shall not be remembered, nor come into mind, it's speaking about the sorrow, the oppression, the captivity, the bondage, the depression, the sadness that we experience on this side of the world. Right? And it tells you that when you read on. But be ye glad and rejoice forever in that which I create. For behold, I create Jerusalem a rejoicing, and her people a joy. So we're not going to remember everything on this side of the earth, man. Meaning we're not going to remember suicides, and we're not going to remember thinking about doing drugs and thinking about selling weed to each other and thinking about all of the sorrows that we experience on this side. Otherwise, this would contradict everything we just read about us remembering how life was on this side of the world. Right now, and are you going to remember the passcode to your iPhone? Probably not. Right? Are you going to remember, hey, 1,000 years in the kingdom, what kind of car you drove? No, you may not remember that. That's all according to the will and power of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. But you will have a certain recollection of things that happen on this side of the world, particularly the judgments that Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua has laid down and what you have been delivered from. So let's move on to the next question. Right, from Jojo to Amazing. Best way to explain to someone that Yahweh sowed the seed of sin into Adam and created us to fall short, so we will need his son. All right, let's deal with it. Right, what is the best way to explain that? Well, let's go to 2nd Esdras, the 4th chapter. So the Most High did sow the seed of sin into Adam, right? And we'll explain where that comes from. Meaning Adam was programmed to sin, like we always say. He was programmed. He was pre-programmed. Sin was downloaded in him before he was created. So there was nothing that he can do. You can't say, well, he should have listened to Eve. Well, he shouldn't have did this, and he should have did. Hey, it was already set up. And that's when you have a higher level of understanding, because you know that the Most High declared the former things from the beginning, and from the ancient times to things that are not yet done. This Isaiah chapter 46 and 10, declaring the end from the beginning and from ancient times, the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand and I will do all my pleasure. So everything that's going to happen in the end of the world and that's currently happening, whether that's the rise up of these other nations, whether that's the increase of nuclear firearms and bombs, whether that's the Israelites waking up, whether that's Babylon falling down, anything you see happening in the end of the world, start from the time of the Lord, Yahweh Shai, and the apostles, that was already set up from the beginning. All the way back from the ancient times. The ancient times that the Most High is speaking about is a time period that predates Genesis 1 and 1. That's the ancient times. There's no years put on the Ancient of Days and his times that he deals with. So from the ancient times, things have been declared that are not yet done. Saying my counsel shall stand and I will do all my pleasure. So before things were even written, the Most High already knew it would happen and said it would happen. Right? Remember, man's goings are of the Lord. How can a man then understand his own way? Right? The classic, Proverbs chapter 20 and 24. Man's goings are of the Lord. How can a man then understand his own way? So wherever a man is going has been predetermined by Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai. Let's get that. Let's get one more in that. Ephesians chapter 1 and verse 4. According as he hath chosen us in him before the foundation of the world, that we should be holy and without blame before him in love. So certain men were chosen before the foundation of the world, meaning before the firmament was created to divide the waters from the waters, before the dry land appeared, right? Before these things and beasts and creeping things and fowls of the air and the fishes of the sea were created, certain spirits resided in the third heaven. And the Heavenly Father, by lot and by his wisdom, has determined what spirits are going to be directly chosen by him to be at one with his son. And there was nothing that you can do. You had no influence on that decision. You had no say-so. Anybody that's in the truth right now, you were chosen from the foundation of the world. Anybody that's going to be without, they were also chosen to be without, meaning on the outside looking in. You were chosen for what? That we should be holy and without blame before him in love, having predestinated us unto the adoption of children by Yahweh Shah HaMashiach to himself, according to the good pleasure of his will. So you were predestinated. The word pre meaning before, destiny meaning your fate, right? Your fate was already determined by the Most High before you were born. So what do you think happened to Adam? Right? What they don't tell you in the church is that Adam was already predestined to go off, right? He was programmed to sin, being in this corruptible body, this fleshly body that is subject to sin, you know? 2nd Ezra chapter 4, and let's read it. Verse 30. For the grain of evil seed, let's see if I can zoom in a little bit, have been sown in the heart of Adam from the beginning. And how much ungodliness hath it brought up unto this time? And how much shall it yet bring forth unto the time of threshing come? See that? So that evil seed of sin was sown in Adam's mind from the beginning. So when the Most High chose Adam at a set time, that sin activated. The Lord activated sin inside of him. It was dormant, right? But then the Most High activated it so he can go off at a set period of time. Now, do you find the word dormant, activation in the Bible? No, I'm just using those terms so you can understand, right? The Lord turned the switch on, right? He turned the switch on in Adam, and then Adam went off, you know? And if you come out of Adam, you still bear that same evil seed. Only thing with us now is that seed is no longer a seed. That seed is sprouted out of the earth and has been watered by Yahweh Bashmel Shah's for counsel, right? And has sprouted up leaves and fruits, right? And boughs and branches and twigs. And now man is still carrying the fruit of Adam, right? So And the latter part of that question is, so we will need his son, right? So we were created to go off just so we can know who to call upon and who can bring us out of sin, right? Let's get that in Romans chapter 8, because that's what this thing is about. It's about knowing who your God is, right? And knowing who the creator is, right? This is Romans chapter 8 and verse 19, right? Romans chapter 8 and 19. For the earnest expectation of the creature waited for the manifestation of the sons of God. So we have an earnest expectation. What is our expectation? Well, what is an expectation? An expectation, what you expect, right? What you expect is something that you hope for, right? You know it's coming. You're just waiting. And when you're earnest about something, you long for it. You crave it. So we have a craving that we're diligently waiting for. And we're waiting for the manifestation of the sons of God. We're waiting for the sons of God to be made manifest. Meaning we're waiting for our immortal body. We're waiting for deliverance. We're waiting for the angels. We're waiting to get beamed up, right? For the creature was made subject to vanity, not willingly, but by reason of him who hath subjected the same in hope. Who's the creature? We're the creature. In order to be a creature, you must have a creator. Who's the creator? Yahweh, Bashmi Awashai. So we, as the mere creature of the earth, we were made subject to vanity, meaning vanity rules over us, man. Like I always say, you are subject to Yahushua. Your wife is subject to you. The children are subject to the father and the mother. You know, kabada ba kawa amaka, right? Honor your father and your mother. So they're subject. Children must obey their father and their mother as unto masters. They must submit themselves unto their father and their mother in righteousness. They're subject to them. You're a subject to vanity. What does that mean? It means vanity pretty much calls the shots. And you see it play out every day when you go off. You don't want to go off, but vanity makes you go off. You don't want to think wicked thoughts, but you're subject to it. You don't want to lust, but vanity lives and rules over you. Right? You don't want to be combative and proud and strife and breed confusion and speak folly and madness in your heart. You don't want to think wicked thoughts and have, all types of spirits on you. But vanity is the slave master at the end of the day. And the Most High sold you into slavery to a master named vanity. So vanity whips you, and now you're lusting. Beats you, and now you're dealing with folly, right? And it wasn't a say, we didn't have a say so. Because if it was up to us, we'd rather be subject to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai all day, every day, and let the Most High rule over us and direct us in righteousness. But now we're in this flesh, right? This corruptible body, this flesh. And the Lord said, I know what dwelleth in my flesh, dwelleth no good thing. Let me get that in Romans chapter 7. For to will is present in me, right? Let's get that in Romans chapter 7, right? I know that dwelleth in my flesh is no good thing, man. Romans chapter 7 and verse, this whole chapter is good, right? This whole chapter is good. This is Romans 7 to 14. For we know that the law is spiritual, but I am carnal, sold unto sin. So being sold unto sin is the exact same thing as Romans 8 and 20 when it says being subject to vanity. It's the exact same thing with different words. That's all it is. So we were sold unto sin. Not for that which I do. It's like for that which I do, I allow not. You see that? For that, it's like for what I would, that do I not. But what I hate, that do I. So Paul said, hey, look, I can't win for losing, man. For that which I do, I allow not. For what I would, that I do. It's like that do I not, but what I hate, I do. That I do. So you don't want to go off. You don't want to do wickedness, right? And you end up doing what you hate, man. We hate lust. We hate folly. We hate vanity. We hate opprobrious words. We hate oaths and swearing and doing profaning the Sabbath and doing things that breed confusion, and you end up doing it. If then I do that which I would not, I consent unto the law that it is good. So if you don't go off, right, then hey, the law is good. Right? Now then it is no more I that do it, but sin that dwelleth in me. See that? So sin dwells in you, it lives in you. Right? It occupies your vessel. For I know that in me, that is, in my flesh, dwelleth no good thing. For to will is present with me, meaning I want to do the will of the Most High. It's here with me because I know the law, I know the commandments, I know the statutes, I know the precepts. So to know the will of the Most High, it's here with me. And I know how to serve the Most High based off of what's written. But how to perform that which is good, I find not. Because you can know something, but then the flesh is programmed to make you go off. So it's always a conflict. Your spirit knows how to submit to the Most High and agrees that the laws and the commandments are perfect. Nobody in the truth disagrees with the Bible and the laws and the commandments. So you accept it and you embrace it, but you don't physically do it all the time, right? Because you have the flesh and sin that dwelleth in you. For the good that I would, I do not. Right? But the evil which I would not, that I do. Meaning you don't want to do evil, but you end up doing it. You want to do good, but you don't do it. Now here's the point. Now if I do that I would not, it is no more I that do it, but sin that dwelleth in me. Because your spirit don't want to do it, but sin lives in you. It makes you do it. Like somebody with they got eczema, or somebody that itches a lot. They fight it, or you got bit by a mosquito, or you got athlete's foot or a rash, and you don't want to scratch it, man. You're fighting so hard, but it's just it's a sensation, and then you scratch it, man. That's how man is with sin, and we were made subject to vanity. We were made like that. Let's read this again. For the creature was made subject to vanity, not willingly, because we didn't have a say so in this. This was all up to the Most High. But by reason of him who hath subjected the same in hope. So the same way you're subject to vanity, simultaneously you are subject to hope. Because if you know that you're constantly created the will, the way of the Most High, but in the flesh go off, you're going to look for someone to deliver you from that conflict. Because that's really, depressing. There's nothing happy about wanting to do what's right, but then you go off. Right? Nobody wants to live that life, man. Nobody wants to live a life where you constantly know what's right and wrong, but you can never do it. When you love Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, but you can never fulfill it all the time. When you love this truth, and sometimes you just fall short. Nobody wants to fall short. We know that the just man falleth short 7 times. We get it. It's written. But nobody really wants to. Who wants to fall short? So the same way that you're subject to vanity, you're also subject to hope, because now you say, hey, look, I know my spirit wants to do right and my flesh doesn't. I want to be delivered from the flesh. I'm hoping that the Most High delivers me from this. You're the one that put me in these bonds. Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, you're going to be the one to bring me out. So now we're hoping to be delivered, not just from America. That's just one level. See, America is just one form of our captivity. Our captivity is dynamic. We have Babylon the Great. That's a form of your captivity, right? You also have your so-called job you may work at. That's captivity. Jake, you say it all the time. I'm in captivity, right? You also have the captivity of the flesh that you dwell in. And you have brothers that are actually in prison captivity. So there's levels of captivity. But the one thing that we all have in common is that we're subject and captivity to sin, sold under sin. Who sold us? The Most High. But the Most High also made us subjected in hope. Verse 21, because the creature itself also shall be delivered from the bondage of corruption into the glorious liberty of the children of the Most High. So we're going to be delivered from corruption, right? Meaning from the flesh. That's what this means. The bondage of corruption, bondage is slavery. Okay? So our flesh is essentially like prison bars where you can never escape. So that's what that's really going into, right? We were made subject to vanity, that we may hope in Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. All right? From Ahaziah, Shalom King, would you mind going over Acts chapter 10 about Cornelius? Was he an actual Gentile? And a vision Peter had in that chapter about Gashad. All right, I'll deal with it briefly, right? I'll deal with it briefly. It's a long chapter, you know, but I'm gonna touch on a few points here and there. So Cornelius is an Israelite, right? First and foremost, right? Cornelius is an Israelite, and you know that straight off the first few verses, Acts 10:1. There was a certain man in Caesarea called Cornelius, a centurion of the band called the Italian band. And really off of verse 1 is where a lot of people may think that Cornelius is an Edomite, right? I mean, there's really no clear say that he's an Edomite. So for people to say he's an Edomite, I don't know where they see this word Italian band. That's where they get it from. Oh, he's part of the Italian band. Well, guess what, man? You had many Israelites that were in the so-called white man's army at the time. Do you not have people in the American military that are jakes, that are generals, lieutenants, captains, sergeants, colonels, gunnery sergeants, right? Aren't so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American man all up and down the so-called white man's military? Yes. So guess what? If I was somewhere in the Philippines or somewhere in Sri Lanka and I heard that an American general was on a plane to come to my country, you may think it's a so-called white man coming, but a Jake might show up. Jake has always had prominent positions in our captivity. Daniel was a president. He was a Babylonian president, right? Mordecai was second in command under the Persian Empire. Joseph was like Pharaoh in Egypt, you know? These are all Hebrews, but the whole problem, Esther was queen. She was the Persian queen. She was an Israelite, a Jew from the tribe of Benjamin, but she was the Persian queen. If you thought about a Persian queen, you would have thought about an Elamite or an Ishmaelite. But you would never really think about a so-called Black woman. So we have to separate at times places from nationality. Because you get all jammed up thinking that every Italian in modern day society is a so-called white man. You know? Even one more point. Do you even have Italian basketball, like the national Italian national basketball team for Italy or the national soccer team for Italy, the Italians? Some of these guys are Jakes, man. You know? Some of these guys are Hamites. So they see this word Italian and they lose their mind. So I want to get a quick precept on this to show that Israelites were in the army. All right, let's go to the book of Luke, 3rd chapter. Okay, this is St. Luke, chapter 3 and verse 14. And the soldiers, these are men that came to John the Baptist. And the soldiers likewise demanded of him, saying, and what shall we do? And he said unto them, do violence to no man, neither accuse any falsely, and be content with your wages. So these soldiers were Israelites, right? How do you know that these soldiers were Israelites? Because John the Baptist, let's go to Acts chapter 13. His ministry was only to all Israel. Acts chapter 13 and 24. When John had first preached before his coming, the baptism of repentance to all the people of Israel. So all those people that came to hear John the Baptist, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the publicans, the soldiers, all of those men were all Israelites. So you had soldiers that were in the army during the time of the apostles, right? Even when you go to Acts 22 and 25. All right, quick precept. Acts chapter 22 and 25. And as they bound him with thongs, meaning ropes, Paul said unto the centurion that stood by, is it lawful for you to scourge a man that is a Roman and uncondemned? Meaning, why are you beating a Roman citizen? Now, hold on now. When you think about a Roman, you think about a so-called white man. You're not thinking about a Benjamite. That's a Roman. So again, you can't use citizenship of a dwelling place and tie it in with the nationality or an ethnicity. Okay. Otherwise, you would have thought Paul was an Edomite because it said he's a Roman. But Silas was also a Roman. And Paul. And his brother that's with him, the centurion, he's a Roman. But all three of those men are all Israelites. Right? Let's read. And Paul only called himself a Roman to get out of this situation. And that was very wise. When the centurion heard that, he went and told the chief captain, saying, "Take heed what thou doest, for this man is a Roman," because the Romans had a different trial method than an actual slave. Then the chief captain came and said unto him, "Tell me, art thou a Roman?" He said, "Yea." And the chief captain, here's the point, and the chief captain answered, "With a great sum obtained I this freedom." And Paul said, "But I was freeborn." So this chief captain, this Roman chief captain, bought his freedom, right? He was a slave. He was an Israelite in bondage, but he worked his way up and actually bought his own freedom. See, Paul was an Israelite too, and he was a Roman, but Paul was a freeborn Roman. So his parents had citizenship of Rome, and this guy, he had to buy his freedom. Certain Israelites, they had to fight in the state, in the Colosseum, and they had to fight for their freedom, right? And they were gladiators. So there were different ways to obtain your freedom during the time of the Romans. And this guy was a Roman soldier, you know? The man that actually, like I went into earlier, or this past Shabbat, this man Tiberius Julius Alexander, he was a Roman general. He was the chief of staff during the time of the Roman Empire. Right? And the apostles, well, some of them were alive during this time. You know? So this guy was above Cornelius. There was a so-called black man named Tiberius Julius Alexander. He's called the Jew who destroyed Jerusalem. So you had Israelites all up and down the Roman army, right? And Spain, you know, and actually Italy and Alexandria and Egypt. We have to understand history before we just make this quick assessment that Cornelius is an Israelite because he was part of the Italian band. Now, today's society, they call I'm not in the military, I haven't been in the military, and all praise to Yahweh Shemel Rashad, but there are brothers I know in the military through experience, they had these names for their particular, and Salaki, if I don't have a vocabulary, right? But they had names for the particular platoon. You know, and they had it was like you know, Delta Squad or whatever, but they was named after different things. Right? Let me see if I could kind of type that name. Soldier. I want to use the word squad. Like I said, I'm not in the army. I don't know squad names. Army unit or something like that, right? We'll see. Okay, see that right there? Hold on. I want to get this back to. Oh boy, I'm trying to. How do I get this back? All right, hold on. Salakia. All right, let me pull that back again. Soldier. All right, so you have look at that, demons, warriors, Spartans, right? I don't know if those are real or not. Let's see. Platoon. So you had different platoons. Let me see if somebody put it on a live chat. Let's see. Right? So that's what they are, the different platoons that they had in the army. Now Cornelius himself, he was part of this band called the Italian band. Right? Now, this is how you know he wasn't an Edomite. Verse 2, a devout man. How many Edomites are devout? Okay. And one that feared the Most High with all his house and gave much alms to the people and prayed to the Most High always. How many Edomites are praying to the Most High all the time? Being devout. What makes you devout? Keeping the law. Let's go to Acts 22 and 12. Right? That's what makes you devout. Acts chapter 22 and 12. And one Ananias, a devout man according to the law, having a good report of all the Jews which dwelt there. So you can only be devout according to the law. So Cornelius was a devout man, meaning Cornelius kept the law. He knew the laws of the Most High. He had the faith of the Most High. And he feared the Most High with all his house and gave much alms to the people and prayed to the Most High always. Edomites don't pray to the Most High always, right? Edomites don't fear the Most High. Let's get that in Psalms chapter 36 and 1. The transgressions of the wicked, it's like the transgression of the wicked saith within my heart that there is no fear of God before his eyes. David said when he see the sins of Esau, he said there is no way that these men fear the Most High, right? There is no fear of God before his eyes. Every time I see his sins, there's no way he fears the Lord. That's what David is saying. And that's the Edomite. That's the wicked. So it's impossible for him to be an Edomite. And he prayed to the Most High all the time. How does Esau feel about the Lord? Let's go to Job chapter 21. This is Job chapter 21 and verse 13. They spend their days in wealth, and in a moment go down to the grave. Therefore they say unto the Most High, depart from us, for we desire not the knowledge of thy ways. So they're asking the Lord to get away from them. This is the wicked. And their natural estate. They don't desire the ways of the Most High. Verse 15, check this out. What is the Almighty that we should serve him? And what profit shall we have if we pray unto him? Listen, we don't need to pray to the Most High. We got money. We have the whole earth in our subjection. We have weapons of mass destruction. We have seduced the minds of the people and gotten them drunk off of our philosophies and wine. And, we're doing whatever we want to do. So why do we have to pray to the Most High? So Cornelius couldn't have been an Edomite because the Edomites, in their mind, they don't feel as though if they should pray to anybody above them. All right. He saw in a vision, evidently about the 9th hour of the day, an angel of the Most High coming into him, saying unto him, Cornelius. And the angels only come down and break visions down to the Israelites, right? Let's get that in Hebrews chapter 1. So his life is really the life of a standard Israelite. Hebrews chapter 1 and 13. But to which of the angels said he at any time, sit on my right hand until I make thine enemies thy footstool? Are they not all ministering spirits? Meaning, aren't the angels spirits to serve you, right? Sent forth to minister for them who shall be heirs of salvation. So the angels are sent to men who are going to inherit salvation. Salvation is not for the Edomites, right? Or these other nations. It's for the Israelites. Verse 4. And when he looked on him, he was afraid and said, what is it, Lord? And he said unto him, thy prayers and thine alms are come up for a memorial before God. And this had to be a hell of a Edomite. This was one special or you can say, well, I never said Edomite. He was just a Gentile. Okay, well, this is some type of Gentile for his prayers and his alms that came up for a memorial before the Most High. The Lord don't hear the prayers of the wicked. Now the prayers are taken up at the hour of prayer chiefly by the angel. Right? Let's go to Revelation chapter 8. Revelation chapter 8 and verse 3. And another angel came and stood at the altar. Right? It's like you bear with me. Salaki. Put this in there. All right, Salaki. Another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer, And there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all saints upon the golden altar which was before the throne. So the only prayers that come up before memorial are the prayers of the saints, not the prayers of the nations. Now, really, just to put the nail in the coffin, instead of kind of dicing it up, in Acts 10, right? Actually, let's just jump down. This is Acts chapter 10 and verse 9. On the morrow, as they went on their journey and drew nigh into the city, Peter went up into his housetops to pray about the 6th hour. So he went to pray around noon, right? That's the 6th hour. The first hour is 6 a.m. So the 6th hour is noon, and the 9th hour is 3 p.m. All right. And he became very hungry and would have eaten, but while they made ready, he fell into a trance. Now, really, I'm going to jump down. I'm going to get a quick point, right? This is what you call biblical foreshadowing in Acts 10 and 6. This is before he had the vision. This is Peter. He lodgeth with one Simon, a tanner, whose house is by the seaside. He shall tell thee what thou oughtest to do. So the Lord told Cornelius, go call for Peter. He's living with a man temporarily called Simon. Simon is a tanner. What is a tanner? A tanner is somebody that deals with the unclean, right? Let's get to that. Let's see if they got the word tanner in here. And that's all the foreshadowing. Him living with the unclean is pretty much foreshadowing how Peter would visit Cornelius, right? Because Cornelius was called unclean because he wasn't a Jew living in Judea. Okay, let's go to the word tanner. Let's see if they got this. Okay, they got tanner, see occupations and professions. All right, so bear with me. I want to get this word tanner out of the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary. Okay, here's the word tanner. This is page 416 out of the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary, right? Page 416 on the right side, right column. Tanner. One who is skilled in dressing and preserving hides or skins of animals. Among the ancient Jews, ceremonial uncleanness was attached to the occupation of the tanner, and hence he was obliged to pursue his calling outside of town. So a tanner was the most unclean job. But the Lord set that up in the spirit. He didn't make him live with a shoemaker or make him live with a potter or make him live with a blacksmith. He said he wants him to live with a tanner because that's going to foreshadow Peter living amongst the unclean, Now, so Peter, let's see the vision that he had, Acts 10 and 10. So he went to pray at noon, right? And he became very hungry and would have eaten. But while they made ready, he fell into a trance and saw heaven opened and a certain vessel descending unto him, as it had been a great sheet knit at the four corners and let down to the earth. And all this means something. This certain vessel, it means something. Descending, it means something. A great sheet knit at the four corners, that means something. Let down to the earth means something, right? Wherein were all manner of four-footed beasts of the earth, wild beasts and creeping things and fowls of the air. And they all this means something. It's all spiritual. Let's go to Hosea 12 and 10. Right? It's all a similitude. It's a dark saying or a dark sentence. Hosea 12 and 10. I have also spoken by the prophets, and I have multiplied visions and used similitudes by the ministry of the prophets. So the Lord deals with similitudes, right? He'll use a great sheep, but it's really comparing it to something similar. He'll use four-footed beast, but it's similar characteristics of a people. He'll use a vessel, but it's similar characteristics of man, right? So that's what a similitude is. Two different objects or things that have similar characteristics, okay? And the Most High deals with it through a vision. Now in Acts 10, let's break down the similitude. So it says, and saw heaven open, and a certain vessel descending unto him. Now this vessel is dealing with man, right? Really dealing with the house of Israel as a whole. Those men. Let's go to Hosea chapter 8. Hosea chapter 8 and verse 8. Israel is swallowed up. Now shall they be among the Gentiles as a vessel wherein is no pleasure. So our people became like these other nations, and we became a vessel wherein is no pleasure. Let's go to Romans 9 about us being a vessel. This is Romans chapter 9 and verse 23. I start at 22. What if God, willing to show his wrath and to make his power known, endured with much long suffering the vessels of wrath fitted to destruction? See, all of these Edomites are vessels of wrath because they have been created for God to execute his wrath upon. They have been fitted and perfectly made for destruction, right? And that he might make, and that's every Edomite, and that he might make known the riches of his glory on the vessels of mercy. So you got the vessels of wrath and you got the vessels of mercy. The Edomites are the vessels of wrath. We are the vessels of mercy, which he had afore prepared unto glory. And then you have our people that became unclean vessels, right? So we are that vessel descending to the earth. Why are we descending to the earth? Because we're coming out of our power seat. When we mingle amongst these other nations and worship the gods of the Canaanites and worship the Drimelech and Molech and Rephaim and all of these wicked idols, guess what? We fell from our highest state from the heavens. Let's get that in Lamentation chapter 2 and 1. That's why we're descending and not ascending. Lamentation chapter 2 and 1. How hath the Lord covered the daughter of Zion with a cloud in his anger? And did what? And cast down from heaven. That's that descending. And cast down from heaven unto the earth the beauty of Israel, and remember not his footstool and the day of his anger. You see that? So we were cast down to the earth. We went from being in the promised land, having a temple, having an ark of the covenant, a priesthood, a king, and now we were cast down to the earth in a lower state. It also reads, as it had been a great sheet knit at the four corners. And why a great sheet knit at the four corners? Because that represents our people scattered abroad throughout the what? The four corners of the earth. Right? The Lord said, I would scatter them in the corners. I would make the remembrance of them to cease from among men. Deuteronomy chapter 32 and 26. I said I would scatter them into corners. I would make the remembrance of them to cease from among men. So when you're scattered throughout the four quarters, that means you're scattered throughout the known world. Just like the law. The law said, thou shalt make thee fringes, put them on the four quarters of thy vesture. Right? Four quarters meaning all the way around. Deuteronomy 22 and 12. And thou shalt make thee fringes upon the four quarters of thy vesture, when thou coverest thyself. So you got the four quarters, the four corners. Revelation chapter 7 and verse 1. And after these things, I saw four angels standing on the four corners of the earth, holding the four winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. So we're scattered abroad throughout the four corners of the earth, north, south, east, and west. That's why it's knit at four corners coming out of the heavens, because we lost our lower state and we were scattered abroad. Verse 12. Wherein were all manner of four-footed beasts of the earth, and wild beasts, and creeping things, and fowls of the air. Right? And like we always go into, those beasts are really talking about other nations. Right? Other nations. Let's put a Psalm chapter 73 to prove that. That represents our people living like a beast, living like these other nations. Psalm 73 and 22. So foolish was I and ignorant. I was as a beast before thee. Because a beast is foolish and ignorant, right? A dog doesn't know the breakdown of Daniel 2. Neither will he ever know. You think a fish can understand what righteousness is? You think an ape knows how to repent? They're foolish and ignorant. They don't know. Do you think that the armadillo knows the name Yahweh Bashmi Awashai as they roll upon the desert sand? No. When you're foolish and ignorant, you're likened unto a beast. When you serve Molech, sacrifice your children, commit adultery, do God knows what, you are likened unto a beast. Plain and simple. So when Peter saw that vision of us being beasts scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, being brought down from our power state, it represented our people living like Gentiles, because that was the estate of the Gentiles, Israelite foreigners at that time. Even the word Gentile, again, going back to the Bible dictionary, it means usually, or it reads usually, and non-Israelite people. So usually it means a non-Israelite people, which implies theoretically that sometimes the word Gentile is applied to an Israelite. Just like Cornelius. Cornelius will be a Gentile, but he will be an Israelite because he lived at one time like these other nations and lived amongst these other nations, but he knew the Most High, he knew to pray, he had great works, and the Most High brought him and his household into the fold. That's why when you jump to verse 28, it reads, and he said unto them, ye know how that it is an unlawful thing for a man that is a Jew to keep company or come unto one of another nation. But the Most High has showed me that I should not call any man common or unclean. See that? So at first, you may have thought it was talking about these beasts. Peter had to kill and eat these unclean beasts, but it was really talking about man, right? Because man, we can't call any man common or unclean because man has received grace. Not just any man, the Israelite man. We have received grace to come back to the Most High, and the Most High have cleansed these Israelite foreigners. And once they repent, they can come back into the fold. All right. So let's kind of move on from that. Okay. Next question. Try to go in order. Okay, from Jay, can you explain Revelation 6 and 6? Let's deal with it. Right, time is flying. Revelation chapter 6, verse 6. I'll start at 5. And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. Now this black horse represents judgment and affliction. That's what the color black represents. Like colors mean different things in the Bible. White means righteousness or purity, piety, holiness. Red means bloodshed, violence, war. Green means health and life. Black means judgment and affliction. All right. Each one of these colors means something different. Now, this is one of the seals that John saw opened. Okay. Now, each seal goes into particular prophecy. Let's go to Daniel chapter 12 and 4. All right. Let's kind of talk about it. Go to Daniel chapter 12 and 4. But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. You see that? It reads, seal the book. So the book being sealed, meaning the prophecies. But now the seals are being opened at the time of John. And one of the seals that are opened is the third seal. This has 7 seals within and without. Now, when this seal was opened, he saw a black horse, meaning he saw particular spirits that represented judgment and affliction. Same thing in Zechariah the 6th chapter. You read about the black horse. That is Zechariah chapter 6. This is Zechariah chapter 6 and verse 1. And I turned and lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, there came 4 chariots out from between 2 mountains. and the mountains were mountains of brass. And the first chariot were red horses, and these chariots represent the different spirits. And the second chariot, black horses. Then a third chariot, white horses, and a fourth chariot, grizzled and bay horses. So he saw a chariot it represents swift power, right? That's why these are actual. He actually saw chariots, but they're symbolic for the spirits. And these spirits move in UFOs, or these spirits, what the world calls UFOs, so they can move from the third heaven of the earth. But they're likened unto chariots due to the swift power and judgment coming from the third heaven. And when Zechariah saw these visions, he saw actual chariots, but it's symbolic for the swift power and judgment of the Most High, of his different spirits that come from the third heaven. Same thing like Jacob saw the angels coming from the ladder. Zechariah saw saw the horses coming from the mountains, right? Same thing. Now, the first chariot were red horses, meaning angels that cause war, violence, murder, stabbings, bombs to explode, detonate. That's all caused by the red horses, right? And like we always go into, each coat color of the horse pretty much tells you what type of capabilities that horse has. They call it hippology, which is the study of horse genetics and horse coat colors. So anybody that deals with horses, right, they can look at a coat color and say, no, that's a race horse right there. That horse is going to win the Kentucky Derby. Or that horse is a carriage horse. We'll take that horse to the state farm. Or that horse right there is a little pony for Susie at the petting zoo. Each coat color can kind of tell you what that horse was bred and created for. And then having an ancient mind, we knew those things. So it's a lot easier for us to understand that once you kind of see these prophecies. You say, hold on, red horse, okay, red coat, okay, red throughout the Bible, it has symbolized violence, okay, war, okay, killing, bloodshed. Angels coming out from the third heaven to execute that type of office. Then the second chariot, black horses. Now, black has always been symbolic for what? Affliction. Is it not written in Song of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 5 on down? I am black and comely, O ye daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar, as the curtains of Solomon. Look not upon me because I am black, because the sun hath looked upon me. My mother's children were angry with me. They made me the keepers of the vineyards. Right? But my own vineyard kept I not, paraphrasing. So we're black because of the sun. The sun is symbolic for the affliction of the Most High. So the black horses bring out judgment. And then the third, and then Jeremiah 14:2, right? Judah mourneth, and the gates thereof languish, they are black unto the ground, right? Meaning we're in the lowest state because we have been afflicted and judged by the Most High. Then the third chariot were white horses. White symbolizes righteousness, purity, holiness. Revelation 19:7, Ecclesiastes 9:8, right? Song of Solomon 5:10. And then a fourth chariot, grizzled and bay horses. So you have grizzled and bay, like speckled and dark red horses. But the one we want to deal with are the black horses. These are angels that are sent out for affliction and for judgment, right? Let's actually jump down and read that. This is Zechariah chapter 6 and 5. And the angel answered and said unto me, these are the four spirits of the heavens, which go forth from standing before the Lord of all the earth. That's why I had those two mountains, right? Because it's symbolic of the Most High sending these angels from the third heaven. These aren't mortal mountains. These are mountains of brass. They're not literal mountains. It's a vision that he saw. It's a similitude. The chariots are a similitude for the swift power and judgment that these angels and demons are going to bring out. And the mountains that are mountains of brass, there aren't literal mountains of brass. There's none in Canada. There's none in the deserts. There's none in America. There's none in China. They're not literal mountains of brass. It's speaking about the power of Yahweh Bashim Rashai and these spirits coming from the third heaven. That's why it says they go forth from standing before the Lord of all the earth. Mountain symbolizes power, right? And brass has always symbolized power and strength. Now, these black horses in Zechariah chapter 6 and 6, they go forth into the north country. What is the north country? Babylon, America. Then the white go forth after them, because after our judgment brings forth deliverance. Then you have the grizzled that go forth toward the south country. Then you have the bay that also are looking to execute judgment too. Huh? So these are all of these spirits that the Most High sends out. Now, Revelation, the 6th chapter, now that we have an idea somewhat of what the black horse is, it reads, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. Now, when you look up this word balance, right? Let's pull up this. He had a pair of balances in his hand, right? You got to go into these words. Zygos means like a yoke, right? To join a yoke, right? A yoke that is put on drought cattle, used of any burden or bondage, as that of slavery. A balance, a pair of scales, a balance, a yoke, right? A coupling. So it really goes into a yoke, meaning affliction, all right? Affliction or judgment or bondage, okay? And that's why you have, when people have a pair, even Esau, he has his let's see, Lady Justice. What does she have in her hand? Right, she has a pair of actual balances, right? But that word in the Greek is zygos, which means a yoke, right? Which is the judgment. Because when you have a balance, something is found wanting, and it's for justice, right? It's for justice or it's for equity. So this angel, this spirit, had a yoke or a pair of balances in her hand for judgment, affliction. That's why it's a black horse. Now, verse 6, and I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. So when it says a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, that's dealing with what? The bread and the wheat. It's like the barley and the wheat symbolizes the bread, right? So what it's really speaking about is speaking about, although there's going to be judgment and affliction on the earth, the bread and the wheat are still going to be there. The barley and the wheat, right? Now, that's not talking about, okay, it's literally wheat and barley on the earth, right? It's spiritual. This is spiritual right here, right? The wheat is spiritual, the barley is spiritual, the oil is spiritual, and the wine is spiritual. So the Most High says, see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. The oil and the wine represents this truth, right? Anytime you see the oil and the wine together on a spiritual level, it's talking about the truth. So although there's going to be judgment and massive affliction on the earth, rather it's by famine, rather it's a famine of the word, rather the Most High is putting out the hammer on the earth, the oil and the wine cannot be corrupted or taken away out the earth. Because if the oil and wine is taken out the earth, then the elect won't have any hope. We need the oil and the wine, right? Even in the midst of judgment in the earth during the time of their seal, right? Let's prove that the oil and the wine. Let's get that in Luke chapter 10, right? Just a dark saying, right? Speaking about the Most High preserving the knowledge in the time of destruction and judgment. Let's go to Luke 10. I want to get the Good Samaritan, right? So-called Good Samaritan, or the Good Samaritan, right? That is Luke 10:34. And went to him and bound up his wounds, pouring in oil and wine, and set him on his own beast and brought him to an inn and took care of him. So the oil and the wine that he poured in his wounds is this truth, this wisdom, this knowledge and understanding. And you can't hurt. He told that angel, you can judge and afflict the earth. You have the pair of balances in your hand. You have the yoke. And rightfully so, because the earth is defiled. But whatever you do, don't hurt the oil and the wine. Because if you hurt that oil and the wine, you have brought out way too much judgment on the earth. And then nobody's going to make it. You know? That's why Yahweh Shah said that, hey, look for the, let me get that Matthew 24. Except those days be shortened. get that in Matthew chapter 24. There shall no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days should be shortened, paraphrasing. Let's get that in Matthew 24 and 22. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. Because the angels, see, they, like in 2 Samuel 24, the death angels, they have the green light to kill. Remember, even the bay horses, they sought that they might go to and fro throughout the earth. And the Lord said, get ye hence. And they went to go to and fro through the earth. Certain angels want to get down. I'm going to just tell you straight up. They want to do the will of the Most High. In Sirach chapter 39 and 28 on down, it says, they shall rejoice in his commandment. When you read 2 Samuel, you had the death angel ready to stretch his hand toward Jerusalem. And the Lord told him, oh, chill out, chill out. So the Most High always gives these angels the green light to kill, but he has to refrain them. And he told this angel, hey, look, see thou don't hurt the oil and the wine. Right? And the days of evil, no flesh will look like it's going to be saved. So the Most High got to kind of cut the time short. You know? Let me get that in 2 Samuel 24. Oh, boy. Let me get, I believe that's Slocky. That's 2 Samuel, 24, if I'm not mistaken. All right, let's see. 2 Samuel 24 and 15. So the Lord sent a pestilence upon Israel from the morning even to the time appointed. And there died of the people from Dan even to Beersheba 70,000 men. So this angel killed 70,000 men single-handedly, right? And when the angel stretched out his hand upon Jerusalem to destroy it, the Lord repented him of the evil and said to the angel that destroyed the people, it is enough, stay now thine hand. This is the exact same spirit of Revelation 6, right? Let's go back to Revelation 6. He told that angel, it is enough, right? He said, a measure of wheat for a penny and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine, right? Do not hurt the oil and the wine. Don't do too much. Don't destroy all of Jerusalem. And the angel of the Lord was by the threshing place of Aronah, the Jebusite. So these angels have green lights, but they can only go so far, right? That's all they're saying. They, in the time of judgment, they're only going to be able to do, so much. All right, let's see. Next question. Yahweh is teaching family and friends doing the work of the Lord somewhat. Also, any precepts on endurance through trials? Well, teaching family and friends is doing the work, right? That's also doing the work of the Most High, right? When you go into, right, was that not part of Lot's works when Lot was trying to show his family the will of the Most High and warn them, right? Let's actually get that. So warning your family, and that's great work right there. You're being your brother's keeper. That's part of work. So you're exercising brotherly love at a very high level. This is Genesis chapter 19 and verse 13. For we will destroy this place, because this is what the angels told Lot, because the cry of them is waxing great before the face of the Lord, and the Lord hath sent us to destroy it. And Lot went out and spake unto his sons-in-law, which married his daughters, and said, up, get you out of this place, for the Lord will destroy this city. But he seemed as one that mocked unto his sons-in-law. And that was a warning, right? That was love right there. He warned his people, right? That's the law, Leviticus 19 and 17. Thou shalt in any wise, right, rebuke thy neighbor. Leviticus 19 and 17. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him. So if you're teaching your family and not suffer sin upon them, that is doing the work of the Most High. Doing the work of the Most High is not always going to camp. Going to camp is part of doing the work of the Lord, but teaching your friends, teaching your family, as long as they're receiving it and they're taking heed, and even if they don't receive it, you have taught them and warned them and have washed your hands clean of the matter, right? You're clean of their blood because you have warned them according to the will and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, right? Now you're commanded to teach your family. Right, let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 11. Actually, first let's get to classic. Let's go to Genesis chapter 18. 18. This is Genesis chapter 18. I'll start at 17. 18 to 17. And the Lord said, shall I hide from Abraham that thing which I do? Seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. For I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Lord, to do justice and judgment, that the Lord may bring upon Abraham that which he hath spoken of him. So hold on. It says Abraham will command his children and his household after him. And they shall keep the way of the Lord to do justice and judgment. So the Most High knew Abraham. Abraham's part of his works was building up his household, right? Building up his wife. You think Sarah was just sitting around trying to figure out who the Most High is? No. You think Isaac didn't fear the Lord? You know? So you want to have that spirit when you teach your family. You're supposed to teach your family. Your wife should know what's going on. Now, is she going to be breaking down, Revelation the 16th chapter, precept upon precept, and linking it up with? No, she may not do that. She's going to go into Daniel the 9th chapter, go into the 70 weeks and break down Daniel 12 and 11, the 1,335 days, and link it up with no, she may not. But she understands what her purpose is, what her role is, the laws, the statutes, the commandments. She knows how to be a pillar of rest, how to submit unto you, how to guide the children in righteousness. There's order, there's structure. You need to have that. And that's also part of doing the work, right? Even Jacob said he wanted to provide for his own house. More so on a carnal level at that context, but it's also spiritual. Genesis chapter 30 and verse 30. For it was little which thou hadst before I came, and it is now increased unto a multitude, and the Lord hath blessed thee since my coming. And now when shall I provide for my own house also? So when are you going to provide for your own house, man? Carnally, spiritually. When are you going to, provide for your house, man? When are you going to move out? Your grandma's house, brother. You're 31. Right? Well, I'm married. I don't have to move out. Okay, all right, brother. Yeah, my wife, she lives in, Florida, right? And I live in my great grandmother's house, and I eat dinosaur nuggets all day. And I have 4 sons, and they all live with her. But I FaceTime now, and I'm sweet barbershops. Well, brother, that's not provided for your house, man. You can't provide for all your sons sweeping the barbershop. You got to get up and make things happen in righteousness. You got to have a plan. That's what they say, right? And even on a spiritual level, you got to provide for your own house. That's part of work. Spiritually giving them bread, giving them wine, giving them milk, giving them meat, right? Giving them the honey, giving them the words of life. These things men of the Lord should do, right? And the Lord said, if a man don't provide for himself at his own house, he had denied the faith and is worse than an infidel. 1 Timothy chapter 5 and 8. But if any provide not for his own, and especially for those of his own house, he hath denied the faith and is worse than an infidel. So if you don't want to be worse than an infidel is an unbeliever, like an Edomite, right? So let's move on. Oh, Salakia, latter part. Also, any precepts on endurance through trials. Yep. Let's get this. Let's get a good example of a man that endured during a trial. I mean, we talked about Jacob. Jacob was one of them. Let's kind of get a trial that I like to deal with. This is 1 Samuel. Actually, I want 1 Samuel chapter 30. So here's the trial, right? 1 Samuel chapter 30 and verse 1. And it came to pass when David and his men were come to Ziklag on the third day, that the Amalekites had invaded the south and Ziklag and smitten Ziklag and burned it with fire, right? So that they came and ambushed them, the city. Here's what else they did. And had taken the women captives that were therein, they slew not any. It's like you're either great or small, but carried them away and went on their way. So they took David's wives, all of the men of Israel wives, right? And they took they took their wives, man, the women. So David and his men came to the city, and behold, it was burned with fire, and their wives and their sons and their daughters were taken captive. Imagine going back home and somebody broke in your house and took your woman captive, and took your son captive and your daughter captive. You're talking about going through a trial. A lot of people have cursed the Most High. Lord, why would you allow this to happen? I just got off of a fast. Who do you think you are? And that's wicked, man. And it's true. And the Lord said in Sirach chapter 2, my son, if thou come to serve the Lord, do what? Prepare thy soul for temptation. Let's get that in Ecclesiasticus. Right? This is Sirach chapter 2 and verse 1. My son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation. So that's a prerequisite, right? You have to understand that once you're in this truth, temptation is part of this truth. The truth is not always just the honey stage, when you're just excited about knowing your nationality and okay, you learn and you want to tell everybody the truth and you want to make all these posts on social media. This truth is also about counting the cost and understanding that the fact of the matter is temptation will come your way. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. It will be presented to you. And you have to prepare yourself and say, hey, look, at any given day, I can be tempted by the spiritual demon Satan. He can try to break me down, get on me, make me lust, make me freak off, make me rebel, and commit sorcery against my maker. At any given second, I have to understand that temptation will come my way. Let me prepare myself by studying, by standing in the spirit, by reading, by praying, by fasting. So when it does come my way, I am equipped to deal with the situation at hand. Verse 2, set thy heart aright, meaning get your mind right. Get engaged, right? Get focused. Get ready, man, because Satan is coming. Get your mind right and constantly endure. It didn't say endure 1 week and then the next week, oh, I don't know if this is really for me. Oh boy, this is too hard for me. I had a flat tire and then I stubbed my toe. Then I got fired. Hey, look, man. And the Lord said, constantly endure. This truth is about a fight. And make not haste in time of trouble. So you're going to find out as we go back to this account that David didn't make haste in time of trouble. Right? David did not make haste in time of trouble. David endured. Cleave unto him and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at thy last end. Whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully, and be patient when thou art changed to a low estate. Right? Be patient when thou art changed to a low estate. So let's go back to this. 1 Samuel chapter 30 and verse, I'll read 3 again. So David and his men came to the city, and behold, it was burned with fire, and their wives and their sons and their daughters were taken captives. Then David and the people that were with him lifted up their voice and wept until they had no more power to weep. So yeah, you got to deal with this, man. This is a tough deal. And David's 2 wives were taken captives, Ahinoam, the Jezreelitess, and Abigail, the wife of Nabal the Carmelite. And David was greatly distressed, for the people spake of stoning him, because the soul of all the people was grieved, every man for his sons and for his daughters. But David encouraged himself, and the Lord is God. So David was greatly distressed. You got to think about it. It says the people spake of stoning him. They wanted to kill him. Imagine your own army turning against you. Imagine being stressed out. You can't, you know where your wives are at, where your son is at, or your daughters are at. But what did David do in trials? David encouraged himself, and the Lord is God. When you encourage yourself in the Lord your God, you recall all of the great things that Yahweh Ba'ashmi Rashai has done for you. You remember the years of the right hand of the Most High, right? You remember the works that the Heavenly Father has done for our fathers that have been before us, how he delivered them when they were outnumbered, when he delivered them when we were at our wits' end, when he delivered them when we didn't deserve to be delivered, right? And you recall these things to mind, and you encourage yourself in the faith and strength of the Most High God, right? That's a Psalm. Let me get that. Psalms chapter, I believe that's 75, right? Let's see. Here's to the right hand. Let's see if I can get that. Salakia. Psalm chapter 77, Salakia. This Psalm chapter 77 and verse. Oh boy, this whole thing is good. 6. I call to remembrance. Man, this whole thing is good. It's a beautiful chapter right here. See, this comfort in trouble from recalling the Most High's mighty deeds. Right? This Psalm chapter 73 and verse 77 and 2. In the day of my trouble, I sought the Lord. My soul ran in the night and ceased not. My soul refused to be comforted. Sometimes you're dealing with some people could talk to you, don't want to receive it. You know, you're stressed out, you're going through hell, and you don't feel like talking to nobody. And it seems as though nobody has the right answer. Nobody tells you what you need to hear or what you want to hear. You know, you don't eat, you can't sleep, you're overthinking, your heart is racing, you're stressed out, you're worried. Verse 3, I remembered the Most High and was troubled. I complained and my spirit was overwhelmed. Salah. And you have to really, you know, the things that you deal with internally, the strife, the stress, right? The worries, these things, you can't bottle them up or they're going to kill you. You have to take these things to your maker, to Yahweh Ba'ashmi Rashai. You have a voice to complain. You have a right to complain to the Most High and express your ordeals and tribulations. You know, even David said in Psalms 83, right? Be not still, O God, right? You know, he asked the Most High to get up, to do something. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up their head against thee. So he's telling them, hey, look, Lord, all hell is breaking loose. Get up, do something, you know? Thou holdest mine eyes waking. I am so troubled that I cannot speak. I have considered the days of old, the years of ancient times. I call to remembrance my song in the night. I commune with mine own heart, and my spirit made diligent search. And your spirit has to, like somebody going through files. Yeah, like them old file cabinets. They open up, going through the files. You're looking for the files, and your spirit got to look for the works of the Most High. Oh, yeah, I remember that with 1 Samuel. Okay, I remember that when the Lord delivered Hananiah, Azariah, and Mishael. My spirit is searching for the works. Okay, the Lord delivered Daniel. Just pulling up all these files. Okay, the Lord delivered Paul. Okay, the Lord delivered Gideon. The Lord delivered this man and that man and that man and Isaac and this man. And you just open up the whole thing. You make diligent search. Will the Lord cast off forever? Will he be favorable no more? It's his mercy. And you may feel like that, man. Oh, man, the Most High not dealing with me no more. Maybe I'm not a man of the Lord. Maybe the Lord about to take the Holy Spirit from me. Maybe I'm so wicked, I'm being judged, right? It's his mercy clean going forever, doth this promise fail forevermore. Hath the Most High forgotten to be gracious? You might feel like the Most High not dealing with you, man. You know, like he moved on from you. Hath he in his anger shut up his tender mercy, Salah? Right? So here's what David said when it's all said and done. And I said, this is my infirmity, but I will remember the years of the right hand of the Most High. You have to remember the years of the right hand of the Most High. Remember the great works that the Most High has done. Remember how the Lord brought you into this truth, right? This isn't your first trial, right? The Most High brought you through many trials, helped you overcome many things that you never thought. He helped you overcome sin, smoking weed, keeping a Sabbath day. You're doing that now. The dietary law, who would have thought? And many such things has the Lord helped you overcome. You have to remember the years of the right hand of the Most High. See, when you're dealing with worry and stress, it's the absence of you remembering the works of the Most High. That's all it is. It's nothing else but a lack of remembrance of the works and the right hand of your Maker. I will remember the works of the Lord. Surely I will remember thy wonders of old. I will meditate also of all thy work and talk of thy doings. Right? So you have to recall and meditate and remember the years of the right hand of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. Right? Okay, next question. A chapter away from World War III. How do I deal with not being able? How do I deal with not being able to be with my daughter in the truth? Her mom won't let me see her, and I've only seen her 5 times. Hurts every day. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, right? That's tough, right? Now that's a tough deal right there, right? Now I would say this first and foremost, right? This is first and foremost, you want to go before Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. Before you take a matter into your own hands. This is what the Lord said. Psalms chapter 50 and 15. And call upon me in the day of trouble, and I will deliver thee, and thou shalt glorify me. So first and foremost, with what you're dealing with, you want to go before the Most High. Right? The Lord said in Psalms 50 and 22, it's like I want to 55. Let me get this. Actually, I'll get First Peter 5 and 7. It reads, casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you. So first and foremost, you want to go before the Most High. Casting all your care, meaning all your stress, all your worries upon Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, and go before him. You always want to go before Yahweh Bashem Yahushua first and foremost. Right now, you want to be able to weigh things in the balance. Right? You want to be able to weigh things in the balance and see, what your options are. Proverbs chapter 1 and 3. To receive the instruction of wisdom, justice, and judgment and equity. So now you're thinking about equity and judgment, a decision that you're going to make to restore what is wrong and what is out of balance. And you want to weigh things in the option. You could take, I don't know if you have done this or whatnot, but you have the option, the availability to take this into the legal side of things, right? First and foremost, you also have the option and the ability to be able to go before and see if you can work something out. I know you may have already, right? But it says her mom won't let me see her, and I've only seen her 3 times. All right, and sometimes you got to use this world, right? You got to use this world straight up. I told a brother this before, man. Well, I don't know. The system wasn't created for me, all right? You have the Most High on your side, man. If your household is of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua and you're diligent and steadfast and you have faith, right? There's nothing too hard for the Lord. That's Genesis 18 and 13. Some brothers they take it there, man. They take it to Esau, right? They take it to Esau, and these courts. You know what I'm saying? Because she's not going to allow you to see her, man. And ultimately, this is a part of the curses. And Deuteronomy chapter 28 and 56 too. We got to remember that. Hey, look, just because we're in the truth, as much as you may not want to hear this, we're subject to these curses too, right? It says the mother or the woman, her eyes should be evil towards her husband, and evil towards the young ones that come between her feet. So she'll be evil to her young ones by not allowing her to see their fathers, man, and keeping fathers away from the daughters and fathers away from their sons. We're also subject to the curse, and we're all not going to be subject to every single curse, right? Some brothers aren't really subject to Deuteronomy 28:54. They grew up with their fathers in their lives. Other brothers are. Some brothers have to deal with Deuteronomy 28:56. Some brothers don't, right? And, every brother has to play, for lack of better terms, the cards that they were dealt, because the Most High said, this is the condition of the battle. That man that is born upon the earth shall fight, right? And everybody has a battle, and the conditions of the battlefield have been predisposed by the Most High. Whereas one man may deal with an ordeal like this, another man may deal with the physical infirmity, another man may deal with, being fired every job he gets, and everybody has a particular battlefield that they were put in. Now you want to be able to, from a solution-based mindset, see what you have at your disposal to be able to help you on a legal matter, right? Also to be able to help you on a financial matter, right? Now this, I would like to know more, brother. If you want to email, we kind of talk about it more, see what's going on, see what we can do, really figure this thing out. But just off the surface level, I would kind of, put that out there. That's a sad case to deal with. Salak, you got to go through that. Lord willing, the Most High puts the spirit on her to take that heart away. And again, the Lord said in Micah 7:9, I will bear the indignation of the Lord because I have sinned against him until he plead my cause. And sometimes we have to understand that we have to bear out this judgment from the Most High as a nation until he plead our cause. And the Most High will plead our cause, right? The Most High he always renders every man according to their works. When has the Most High not rendered man according to their works? When has the Most High not rewarded the evil proud doer to their face, man? And we have to have faith and patience. And it's truth too. Because you may not see her, when you want to see her, right? But you have to have patience and faith that you will see her. This can also be your trial too, King. So this thing is about patience as well. Long suffering, indignation, equity and justice and judgment. And take all those things into play when you deal with this matter. Lord willing, brothers pray for you. Lord willing, that thing kind of gets to be in your favor. And celebrating an anniversary with your rib going off. There's no scripture that says our forefathers celebrated anniversaries. Is it a law that says you can't? No, there's not a law that says you can't. Is there any scripture that shows Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, David, Peter, did these things? No, there's no account of that, right? Where did we learn about anniversaries of the world? Yeah, we did. We learned about that of the world. Birthdays, baby showers, anniversaries, certain things we've learned of the world, and we incorporated, and people have incorporated into this truth, right? So that's what I'll say to that. Right, but with that, I'm going to close up, giving, of course, all honor and all glory to Yahweh. Bashima Mashiach Malak Yabushai. Most High willing you edified. Kwam Yashalom. Shalom.